Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
It seems Nancy Guthrie is still alive. That is at least what Savannah Guthrie seems to be telegraphing in her latest Instagram post. She says she, meaning Nancy, is feeling these prayers. So she believes Nancy is still out there. And the other thing that seems clear is they have reached a dead end with whoever took her mother. She says that we believe our mom is out there. We need your help. This is Monday, and the deadline is today at 5 o'clock Tucson time. And the kidnappers made it very clear in the first ransom note, which we received, the situation is dire if they are true to their words, if they don't get that ransom money at 5 o'clock today, Tucson time. We have checked the Bitcoin address, and you can see what's deposited. As of this moment, the $6 million ransom has not been deposited. Something has happened where they are at a stalemate. Because if you remember over the weekend, Savannah said, we are ready to pay. And the money isn't there. There is some reason, obviously, as to why they haven't. And it just seems like Savannah is throwing her hands up, saying law enforcement is doing everything they possibly can, but she is begging for the help of anybody, no matter how far away, for anything that could be a clue. The kidnappers, as far as we know, have not shown proof of life. Now, we have only seen the first ransom note, not the second. The second was sent to a local Phoenix television station. But it seems that the kidnappers have not done anything concrete, although there is something really interesting in the message Savannah left over the weekend when she said, we understand, referring to that first note. So there is something that the kidnappers said or demanded that Savannah is acknowledging. And then to me, the key word in that Instagram post over the weekend is the word celebrate. What did Savannah mean to say, we want to celebrate with our mother? It's an odd phrase to use in the middle of all of this. And the only thing I can think of is that word may well have been used in that second ransom note. I don't know because we haven't received the second, but the word is so out of context that I think it's reasonable to at least guess that that word was used in that second note. Now, she says, our mom has been taken and we don't know where. So she is kind of acknowledging that. And as we told you last Friday, that the way the ransom note, and we'll be a little bit descriptive now, the way the ransom note is worded, that they say we will bring your mother back to Tucson, meaning they're not in Tucson right now, if you believe them and take them at their word. We will bring her back to Tucson within 12 hours of the time that we receive the money. Well, if you take 12 hours and then you multiply it by 60 miles an hour, it gives you about a 700-mile radius around Tucson. And so it's basically the western United States, if you take them at their word that they would be within the confines of that 700-mile radius. Personally, I think that there is a good chance that they are way closer. And the reason I say that is there is a connection between this kidnapper and the Tucson television market, which is a much smaller radius than 700 miles. This person who wrote it has some connection to Tucson, because the first ransom note was sent to 2 local television stations there, in addition to us. The second ransom note sent to KOLD, which is one of those 2 television stations in Tucson. So whoever wrote this has some connection. Remember, if this were just somebody who saw Savannah Guthrie on TV and said, here's what we're going to do, they probably would have sent it to NBC News, where Savannah works. This is somebody connected to Tucson, and it just feels like it's somebody who either knew Nancy or knew of Nancy, that she had a famous daughter. And that's somebody in that Tucson area. So we talked about it on Friday, but it sure seems to me that if, and I want to say one other thing, that whoever wrote this is intelligent, is articulate. And I say that because the way that first ransom note is worded, it is well structured. The grammar is almost perfect. And it is somebody who is smart. And so if there's somebody in the Tucson area who noticed that somebody over the last week has gone MIA, who is smart and articulate, I don't know, that might be a lead. But it just feels like this is somebody who lived in that Tucson area, or at least the Tucson market. And it is somebody who, if you believe this letter, is within that radius right now with Nancy of the city of Tucson, Arizona. So unfortunately, it seems, at least judging by Savannah's most recent post, that they are at some kind of a dead end, because she's just now begging for everybody's help as the clock keeps ticking.
Breaking news. Our colleague, Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie has just posted a new video message to Instagram.
That video, of course, comes as we enter the second week in the search for her mother, Nancy Guthrie. Let's listen to Savannah's remarks in their entirety.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers, and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
That was Savannah Guthrie, our colleague, talking about her mom. If you've been watching, you know this has been a 2-week-long saga. Well, we're entering the second week right now. But that message just posted on Instagram by Savannah, calling this a nightmare, saying, "We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help." Savannah really asking everyone, she said, outside of Tucson, wherever you are, if you have heard something, they really, really need your help.
Absolutely. Savannah, of course, a woman of faith, thanking everyone for prayers for her siblings and her mother, but also reiterating that wherever you are, Tucson or beyond, they need information. And they believe, as she said, we believe our mom is out there. She was taken and we do not know where.
Yeah, that struck me as well, saying we still don't know where she is. Let's bring in NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. Kelly, it's emotional to hear her talking straight to the camera like that. You sense her frustration in this situation. What do we know at this hour, Kelly, about the investigation?
Well, in many ways, Savannah's words give a very clear snapshot of what we're seeing on the ground, that it is an hour of desperation, that despite extensive law enforcement work, there has been no breakthrough yet. And her appeal, this is not about alleged captors with a ransom note. She is asking for people who might be able to provide the kind of information that in an investigation can, in fact, open a window, someone knowing something. It's clear that Nancy Guthrie was removed from her home. The how, the why, still needs to be found. We know the when in terms of the hour at which there was movement at the home on that Sunday night more than a week ago, and we know when her pacemaker device no longer was attached to her cell phone. What Savannah is talking about here is certainly an appeal for the kinds of tips that can mean someone who saw something, someone who heard something, someone who's heard someone talking about these events that might prove useful. There is a $50,000 reward that has been offered by the FBI. I think as we know Savannah and our viewers know Savannah, she certainly appears very composed here. This has been a very painful, unimaginable experience, and yet she has a clear message of seeking help and of offering thanks, knowing that many people have invested their time, their expertise, and their knowledge. I've been in regular contact with the FBI. They have a very large staff that is working here. We've seen that they've done searches. We see that they are doing some of the sophisticated tools that the federal agency has with respect to cell phone data, digital tools that they have, and shoe leather law enforcement going to businesses in the area looking for any video that might help to establish a vehicle, using license plate readers, all of those kinds of things. I've been in touch with the White House today. Caroline Leavitt, press secretary of the president, says he is getting regular briefings and has great interest in this. Kash Patel, the FBI director, has also been getting regular briefings. Savannah's voice in this is now the fourth time we have seen a video from the Guthrie family directly. This is the first time we've seen her solo. Her brother Cameron did a solo video earlier, and of course the siblings, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron Guthrie, have appeared together. In this instance, she is asking for information. Will that be another way for someone out there to offer something that has not come forward yet? At the same time, hard, diligent, quiet work goes on from investigators to try to look for some of those electronic or evidentiary leads. But as we understand it, there is no identified suspect. There is no key lead that law enforcement has made us aware of at this point. And that makes all of this just more confounding and heartbreaking for the Guthrie family and for the community. Being here in Tucson, you definitely get the sense that the people who are a part of Mrs. Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie's community and her everyday life are deeply concerned, as is the public. And so this new message from Savannah may be an opportunity for someone who is hearing this to provide a tip, a clue, an insight that they can then act on and find more information.
No, absolutely, Kelly. And I'm struck that you mentioned this is the fourth time we have heard directly from the family. Savannah, of course, saying we need your help. Kelly, can you remind us where the investigation stands right now and the state of resources on the ground? Of course, there was a lot of activity this weekend. We know there was a consent search of her sister Annie's home. Set the scene for us there.
Well, it, of course, is led by the Pima County Sheriff's Department. They are the agency with jurisdiction, and they are getting the resources of the FBI, and they are considerable resources. Agents and personnel brought in from not only the Phoenix field office, which is of considerable size, there's a Tucson field office, and other agencies as well. They tell us that they are using hundreds of agents to do this work. Some of it has been in a physical sense on the properties here related to the Guthrie family. Nancy Guthrie's home, the home of Annie, Savannah's sister, daughter of Nancy, and that's a separate location. When you talk about a consent search, why that is important, the home of Annie Guthrie is the place where Nancy Guthrie was last seen for the family dinner, and so it would be a standard procedure to try to gain any information there. There has been the kind of typical legwork of looking in areas like a septic tank that was seen, looking in the immediate area, doing what's considered a grid search for any potential clues. That's a baseline of investigative work that needs to be done to not only orient the agents and officers and personnel who are here, but also to check boxes of what needs to be understood about the potential crime scene, not just the house, but wider area. And then it is about trying to get other kinds of information. From digital realms, we have these notes that have been sent to media outlets addressing the family. Again, we don't know if those notes are directly connected to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, or in fact a separate crime of opportunists who are trying to extort money and do not have any direct connection. We don't know the answer yet about whether those are credible ransom notes or whether they are a painful distraction and a separate crime. So at this point, there is a lot of work being done. Typically in investigations, when there are useful probative facts, they are not quick to make that public as they're trying to gather information. So could there be work that's proceeding that will ultimately give us an answer? We certainly hope so. But when we get a read from authorities, we just don't have those details yet. This is not the kind of case that has produced video evidence where they can say, do you know this vehicle? Do you know who was at this location? That has not developed yet. So Savannah Guthrie and her appeal to the public is asking for that kind of information. Did someone see something in the wee hours a week ago Sunday? We know that that it was about 2 in the morning when Nancy Guthrie was separated from her cell phone, which was left at the Guthrie family home.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
All right, as we cover the breaking news from here in New York, I want to do a couple of things. First, we're going to bring in my colleague Geraldo Rivera, our News Nation correspondent at large. Then, good to see you, Geraldo. We'll go back to Brian Enton, who's gathering information as quickly as he possibly can in Tucson. But before we discuss this, Geraldo, this new video just came in, okay, from Savannah Guthrie. Before this break that we just came out of, I played what was a portion of it. The full video actually runs about 1 minute and 40 seconds. I want to play that for our audience now, and then you and I will come back and talk about it. Here's Savannah Guthrie from just a short time ago, posted on her Instagram.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
Seemed different, Geraldo, than the other videos. I didn't pick her up the reading of a script. We know the FBI's helped her with other videos. It's, you know, she's speaking directly to her phone, even went to turn off her own phone at the end. Thank you for the prayers, and we believe our mom is still out there, and we need your help. An appeal to the public. What did you notice?
She seems kind of sadder to me. She seems more desperate, frustrated. It seems that their hope dangles by a thread. It is very disconcerting to watch, very painful to watch. She's such a wonderful, ebullient person, so personable, so joyful in so many ways, and to see her reduced to such a melancholy place, it's really very painful to watch. I'm not sure that these pleas to the public yield anything. People call, just with theories and far-out kind of approaches to this very, very complicated problem. But as to whether or not Savannah feels her mother is alive or not, it was hard to tell whether she was asking for the remains or asking for her mom to come back. No real clue other than the fact that it weighs you down just further. Just every time you see this story, it's just so very, very, very sad.
I heard a bunch of people and you've followed and covered these types of stories for a long time as well, but people who have investigated them even saying they haven't really seen something like this. It seems to be very confusing to people looking in from the outside, with the obvious caveat that there may be things we don't know. But this is very tough emotionally, but also just tough to figure out what the heck's going on.
The Elizabeth Smart case and the Patty Hearst case seem the most like Savannah's missing mom, Nancy. In those, Elizabeth was just a young teenager when she was captured and kept for a long, long time, months and months. Patty Hearst was converted by her kidnappers into a bank robber, for goodness sake. Erica and I became friends with Patty later in life, and she recounts that experience in a way that is eye-opening.
I don't think she was kidnapped. We would have heard, listen, there would have been a video, there would have been a photograph, there would have been something, a lock of hair, a drop of blood, something mailed to somebody so they could verify, yes, in fact, these people have my mother. Kidnappers want to get paid quickly. They don't want this thing to linger. If you're negotiating with another drug dealer in South America somewhere, it could go on for a few weeks, a month, until they get bored and decide this is not worth it. And it's either pay up or we're going to kill this person. And it's always a negotiation, right? The first figure they throw out is never what actually gets paid, like any good business deal. There's going to be a negotiation, but it's going to be a fast and hard one. And there's been no negotiations. No one's called up and said, hey, where's my money? That hasn't happened. For the simple reason is nobody's kidnapped her, I don't think. If you're a good kidnapper, you're going to grab the medication on the way out the door, because you're going to have to take care of her. You're going to have to keep her alive and healthy, right? So it shows a total lack of planning. The total lack of forensic evidence of anyone being in that house, of grabbing her, is another clue that she wasn't kidnapped. You walk in somewhere, you're going to leave something. I don't care who you are. You're going to leave some DNA, some footprints, some fingerprints, blood if anyone gets cut on glass or whatever. Listen, the FBI is great at crime scene processing. They've been processing this thing for what, 6, 7, 8 days now. They've got nothing. If they had something, we'd have heard about it. The problem was it became public very quickly. And my guess is the Russians or Nigerians said, oh, hey, here's an opportunity to make a few dollars. We don't have a body. We don't have proof of anything. We're just going to hope that they panic and pay us. Her mother would be an attractive kidnap target, except for the fact that, well, you kidnap somebody like that and you better batten down the hatches because, man, everybody's coming for you. Everyone. The entire law enforcement apparatus of Arizona is in gear, the FBI, probably ATF, probably DEA, everyone's jumping on this bandwagon. I mean, there's probably 500 people assigned to this case right now. I don't think anybody in position of authority believes she's alive at this point. And no one wants to say it publicly. This is the problem, right? Listen, when you see the FBI on the roof a week later and helicopters have been filming that roof for nonstop for 7 days, we're reaching. They got nothing else to do. They've got nothing left. And someone said, hey, get up on the roof, take a look again. Well, I'm sure somebody did take a look for cell phones or any evidence of someone coming off the roof after she came home. Great place to hide, right? I mean, all the technology we have turned up nothing. A lot of that is because she lives in an area that has light pollution issues and they don't want lights. So ring cameras don't work. Surveillance cameras don't work. I mean, they've got nothing. They've got no film. They got no evidence that she was taken by anybody at this point, other than some hokey ransom letters, which aren't saying anything except send us money to this untraceable account. I think, unfortunately, it's going to end badly. Mrs. Guthrie's probably going to be found deceased somewhere. I doubt she walked off and someone picked her up and, they're eating tea and cupcakes somewhere in Arizona area. I very much doubt it. I mean, she has medical issues. I think if she was taken, we'd pretty much know for sure at this point she was really taken. There'd be some forensic evidence to help indicate that happened. Because the feds aren't talking about it, I'm pretty sure there's no forensic evidence indicating she was kidnapped at all. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. It doesn't bother me to be wrong. Seldom am I wrong.
Savannah Guthrie with the new post on Instagram, shaky voice looking directly into the camera, into her phone, saying her family's desperate, that they're living a nightmare. The ask is simple. She wants her mom home. Again, listen.
We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Entin continues his reporting. He's been at Nancy's home in Tucson. Again, as we say every time we see one of these videos, hard to watch, but it's the newest development ahead of this reported deadline. Brian.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible to watch. Every time you see Savannah, it sort of brings home just how awful all of this is. And at least me, I can't help but think of my own mom and if I was in this situation and just how terrible it must be. And the fact that she said wrote down what she said, we are in an hour of desperation and we need your help. And that really seemed to be the theme of the entire video, which has me wondering, do they not know much? Is this case turning cold? With this deadline approaching, is it possible that this ransom and these letters may not even be real? Are these, which has been a theory we've talked about all along, Connell, these could just be people who were trying to take advantage of the Guthries. Yeah, there were some details in there that I'm told were very convincing, but were they things that you could have figured out by looking at the outside of the house? It's possible, and it seems like based on Savannah's message, They want people's help, not only, like she said, from the Tucson area, but all over the place, which makes you wonder if maybe they're not making as much progress behind the scenes as we had hoped.
Did you read anything into the fact? I mean, maybe I just looking at the way she was delivering it. The last video, it seemed like there was a piece of paper on the ground she was reading off of. A lot of people talked about coded language. This seemed more personal. It seemed just like her talking to camera. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it did seem a little different.
100%. I thought the same exact thing when I watched it. I also thought, I mean, the last video was just, she was so drained, which you can imagine, and same with the first video, and the way they're I mean, they almost look like hostage videos, the way that they're sitting there, and you can tell that they've had just the life sucked out of them. I got the sense today with this video almost like she's pressing forward in a sense and really trying to engage people to help. I mean, she said it several times in the video. And, you know, almost like, you know, she's going to take matters into her own hands in a sense. I mean, I'm sure the FBI still helped her craft this video, but you're right. It felt much more like she was just speaking I mean, if you watch the Today Show, I mean, if you follow Savannah, it felt more just like her and less like it was some kind of crafted message that the FBI had helped with.
What about where you are? Has anything changed? Has been any kind of activity, or have things been pretty quiet around the home or homes today?
It's been quiet. It's been very quiet. There's been no activity at all. There's been no activity at Annie's house, the other daughter. I was just over there. You know, they've got private security outside both houses. We've got our live drone up, which is great because we can keep an eye on everything that's happening, because when they do show up, it's very difficult to see what's going on without the drone. So we have a live drone up pretty much all the time now, which you can see there. But there's
new video from Savannah Guthrie as we are a little over an hour away from one of the deadlines in the letter for this ransom payment. We're getting it ready. We are about to play it for you in just a moment. But I can tell you that in it, she says, we need your help. And we're going to play this for you as soon as we get it turned around. Just stick with us here. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt on the ground in Tucson as we wait to show that to you in just a moment. Jonathan?
And interestingly, Martha, this new message is not addressed to the kidnapper or kidnappers. It is addressed to the general public. In it, Savannah Guthrie thanks everybody for their prayers. She says, we are in an hour of desperation. She said that we, the Guthrie siblings, believe our mother is still out there. She hears your prayers, Savannah says, and she says, we all need your help. She is out there somewhere, but it certainly sounds from the tone of that message, which our viewers will hear shortly, Martha, that the investigation is at something of a dead end at this point, because Savannah Guthrie's tone in this is absolutely desperate, saying that law enforcement are working as hard as they can, but they need the public's help. And she appeals to anybody, anywhere, well outside of Tucson, well outside of Arizona, if you see something that you think might be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please contact law enforcement. So this, I think it is fair to characterize as a message of utter desperation. Once again, a gut-wrenching thing to listen to, as all of Savannah Guthrie's videos have been, Martha.
Jonathan, you know, so quick question here, and you make a number of good points. She's just addressing people generally, and we're going to play it in just a second. But there's no mention in this video, like the last one, Jonathan, we will pay, we understand. So what might this signal? I mean, I know you don't know the answer to this. We're just, you know, sort of thinking it through about this pending ransom time and whether or not perhaps they do not put credence in that anymore, potentially.
Yeah, it's a perfectly fair question, Martha. This is a very different message. The ones we've seen so far, 3 videos from the family, they have all been a direct message to the kidnapper. This now is moving beyond that. This is a message to the public saying, we need your help. It almost feels, and we're all speculating here, Martha, of course, we're all trying to read a tone, but it almost feels like they feel as though this has taken a step backwards rather than forward.
Jonathan, we have the video.
You're absolutely accurate in picking up on that tone.
Thank you so much, Jonathan Hunt. Let's play this video. Stick around for a second. Let's watch this.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
I'd like to bring in now criminologist, professor, and author, Dr. Debbie Goodman. Dr. Goodman, always great to see you. Thank you so much for your time on this. Here we are. It's day 9. We're over a week into the search. Investigators were back at Nancy's house over the weekend, also at Annie's, apparently. But at Nancy's, searching that septic tank, towing a car from the garage there. What stands out to you the most at this point, and why do you think that wouldn't have happened earlier in this case?
Certainly. Good afternoon, Nicole. What's really happening in the 9-day period is a ruling out and a ruling in. So when it comes to criminology and victimology, almost anybody potentially can be involved, and that would speak to potentially family members or individuals in the community. You know, this case is so complicated and so complex. We're literally trying to find the needle in the haystack. And also, Nicole, you know that I like the data analytics. I always check the data on any crime we discuss, and it's such a rare crime. We put it under the category of missing person, but then when we get to that level of specificity, it is so irregular for an older member of our society to be abducted from a home, because when we have home-related crimes, we're usually speaking in the categories of murder or some type of sexual violation, burglary, robbery. So I think that's really what's happening now within this 9-day configuration. All of the evidence that our local, state, and federal officers and agents are analyzing and synthesizing through every tip that comes in that appears viable and valid. So everything is worthy of importance, and I think they're doing the best they can.
So over the weekend, the family released a 3rd video to the alleged kidnappers. I'd like to listen to a bit more of that.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Okay, so many people feel that there is a shift in tone in this video. You know, celebrate with her. This is the only way we'll be at peace. What do you take from this newest video when it comes to the wording, when it comes to exactly what was said and how it was said?
Right. So my interpretation, Nicole, is that the family members are actually doing something that's very important in terms of communication with criminals. And that is they are mirroring, is my interpretation, the language that they may have received in the note, because there are words that perhaps may not be, let's say, routine or natural in the scope and scale of a conversation. So to use words like celebrate and value and peace and pay, those would be the four terms that jump out to me, because I think that's what's happening. It's the mirroring effect, which can be very effective, because then it would suggest that one person isn't above the other, but rather some type of equal footing, and we want to listen to you, we're ready. So that actually makes the criminal feel a little more in control. And when it comes to abductions, Nicole, you know, we refer to it as the key components, the letter C. These people want control, they want confinement, and obviously they use coercion to get what they want.
So there are people speculating that these alleged kidnappers may be out of the country, out of the United States, pointing to the request, the alleged request, that the ransom be paid in USD, in US dollars. Also, the proximity of Nancy Guthrie's house from the US-Mexico border. What are your thoughts on this potential twist?
Right. Well, again, as a criminologist, I like to maintain logical reasoning, even though we are in the midst of something that is so illogical and unreasonable. But if we look, Nicole, towards some of the other cases where we've had successful outcomes, when I say successful outcomes, high profile cases of abduction whereby the individuals, the victims, have been returned.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.
In moments, we'll hear from former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan. We'll dig in deep with Stuart. First, though, senior correspondent Alicia Acuna reports live from Tucson. Alicia.
Hi, Harris. No confirmation yet on whether the family has paid that reported $6 million. And we don't know yet if that video that the Guthries released over the weekend prompted any movement by her captors. Right now, we want to give you a bird's eye view of the situation here on the ground from our Fox flight crew. You can see two sheriff's vehicles parked outside the home. This began on Sunday. The department issuing a statement saying their constant presence now is at the request of the Guthrie family. There's this septic tank that was searched this weekend as well. On Sunday afternoon, investigators used a long pole to probe inside. They were focused here for about an hour in the back of Nancy's property. On Saturday night, law enforcement returned to re-walk the terrain around the house using their flashlights in the pitch black dark of night. Then later that night, our Fox Digital team was at Annie Guthrie's house when sheriff deputies went inside. Flashes of light could be seen like coming from a camera. They were coming from the garage and also from another room. The FBI is analyzing a trove of data from not only Nancy Guthrie's home, but her neighbors. This is a photo of one of the cameras removed from the outside of Nancy's house. Even if a camera like this doesn't record someone on the property, the FBI can grab what's known as unseen data.
For example, you have a lot of neighbors saying, oh, my Ring camera never registered anything. Doesn't mean that technology has not logged the ability to see it, but didn't think it was big enough to ping that app we may use. So there still could be data there. Cameras facing the Guthrie house right now show very little activity, but I promise you there's an enormous amount of activity going on the digital side.
And Harris here on day 9, still no suspects officially or persons of interest. Back to you.
Alicia, thank you. I want to bring in Stuart Kaplan now. He is a former FBI special agent, global security risk management expert, and a criminal defense attorney. Great to have you, Stuart. I want to start with the, as they've been described, kind of cryptic video appeals for the return of Nancy Guthrie. And maybe what would be cryptic about them is, first it was, emotional, so on and so forth, a lot less of that now. What is the type of communication that we are seeing publicly from that family? How would you describe it?
From my vantage point, those messages are messaging directly the source of whoever has been sending those ransom notes. Now, we don't have the benefit of being able to actually read those ransom notes. And by the way, there may be some additional messaging that, quite frankly, law enforcement or the FBI is holding close to the vest. But it seemed, at least yesterday, that messaging in a very cryptic but very specific and methodical way was responsive to specific questions or concerns from the ransom note makers or authors of that ransom note. And that's why I think that there is a lot more information that is unknown to the general public, that specifically is only known to law enforcement. And it's a cat and mouse game at this point.
Look, the money more than quadrupled. We went from 1 million in Bitcoin or thereabouts to 6 million now. The original reward was $2,500. The FBI bumped that up to 50 last week, 50,000. What do you make of the money play in this whole game?
Well, again, that money play may have been because, quite frankly, either the family resisted or pushed back, or at the direction of law enforcement was not responsive to the ransom note makers or communicators. And in retaliation for non-compliance, they now escalated or increased or heightened the threat level and said, look, we wanted 1 million, and now if you want to see your mother return to you or ever see her alive again, it's now 6 million. And I will say this 5 o'clock deadline cuts both ways, because if nothing happens at 5 o'clock, clearly the ransom note makers lose their credibility. And also, if the Guthrie family doesn't follow through and make that payment again, there may be some unfortunate consequences. This is going to be a game changer this afternoon at 5 o'clock.
So you're saying that they've got to pay that money before 5? 6 million.
Well, look. Yeah, well, look, there's a lot of tension behind the curtains. I will say that the Guthrie family, and rightfully so, if it's your loved one, you're willing to pay whatever it takes, whatever you could muster up or afford, even if it's a long shot. On the flip side, law enforcement is wanting to see proof of life. They want to see some additional information so that arguably you don't send $6 million to someone who disappears and they have nothing to show for it. So here again is a cat and mouse game. I will just say this to you, and I've said it from the very beginning. The advancement of technology that is in the toolbox of the FBI is like no other, certainly in 2026. Those assets and resources generally are never known or seen by the general public in a criminal investigation. I again think the breakthrough of this case will be because of the advancement in technology that the FBI has deployed in this case. Those data sets, those digital footprints do take some time. But again, I am optimistic that we are at the precipice of this case being broken wide open.
Look, I want to talk about some of the things that have actually gone on with the case. And this is not to impugn anybody in the investigation. I mean, obviously, law enforcement, military. I'm a huge supporter of the blue. But that sheriff has some problems now, because now it's come out by his own admission in one of the previous news conferences that, yeah, hindsight 2020 maybe should not have released the crime scene, which, by the way, tomorrow will have been a week ago. And then they reopened it, and then they went back out this weekend, so on and so forth. All of that could be fantastic. They're gathering things. But in the meantime, everybody trampled that space who was within, 100 miles of it. I'm exaggerating a little bit. Whoever could get there. They were walking all over that crime scene at Nancy Guthrie's house for at least a day. Fox News Digital is reporting staffing shortages delayed the launch of high-tech search aircraft for hours after Guthrie was first reported missing. How big of a problem is that?
Well, look, and I hate again, and I agree with you, I don't want to trample or bash any law enforcement officer, but let's just talk about the real world. Elderly people go missing all the time. Unfortunately, there are a lot of medical emergencies that happen where people lose their awareness and they wander off, and family members they go and find that they're no longer home. What happens is it's a routine 911 call. Local law enforcement arrives on scene and basically goes through the motions of just taking a missing person's report. It's very common. It's very routine. There are no bells or whistles or alarms that go off. In this particular case, and to your point, the preservation of the integrity of a crime scene only can happen on its first step onto that property. And there lies that you can never treat anything in this world any longer as just a routine, mundane circumstance. You have to always consider the worst case scenario. In this particular case, and by the way, the FBI was not first on scene, and I will tell you, I know they would love to have been first on scene to have preserved the integrity of that crime scene, because there really, quite frankly, is no way to go back and put it into the exact state it was when they first arrived on scene. But again, we have to move forward and we have to work with what we have.
With what we have. Real quickly, look, it's optics now. You've got a family, high profile, Savannah Guthrie. You've got the country watching, the world watching this case, which is one of the highest profile we've seen, as I mentioned, in decades. And I understand that the U of A basketball team, NCAA Division I, have stars. And I understand that the sheriff is a fan. But the pictures that show him at that game over the weekend, what did they say to you about where the priority is?
The optics are horrible. It's poor management. Look, again, but look, we all need at some point some decompression time to distract us because we're in a pressure cooker. But quite frankly, from where I sit, I think it was just a bad choice. The optics are terrible. I will say this. I think it will be impossible for him to ever rehabilitate himself to come up with a plausible explanation as to why he excused himself, knowing that he would be in a public venue and be scrutinized to the level he is right now.
And we do have those pictures. I want my team to put them up when they can. Consent search. The consent searches now. Tell us about that and what that means for this, going back to the home of not just Nancy Guthrie, but also Annie Guthrie, her daughter.
Well, I talked about that last night on another program on Fox News, and I said, look, the Guthrie family is in a situation where they must cooperate. And why must they cooperate? Because it's the Guthrie family, and because there's an expectation that if there's any resistance to cooperating, you know that there's going to be obvious consequences in their reputation, and there'll be negative inferences drawn. As I said last night, the only way law enforcement can get access to digital information at a relative's house is through the execution of search warrant or through the use of subpoena power. And so in order to short circuit those type of hurdles that law enforcement must go through, we need the consent of the family. And so the family seemingly is cooperating. But again, you have to wonder why law enforcement is now digging so deep into some of these family members. There has to be some evidence or something that is causing law enforcement to go back and re-engage themselves in the family several miles away.
Stuart Kaplan, so great to have you, your expertise and your time today. Thank you.
This is a critical moment in the search for Nancy Guthrie, missing for more than a week. The message the family is now sending to their mother's captor, with a purported second ransom deadline said to be only hours away. So here we go. Good morning, everybody, wherever you are. Hope you're waking up with us today. I'm Bill Hemmer, waking up today in Northern California, the morning after Super Bowl 60. We'll get to all that stuff and take you behind the scenes throughout the next 2 hours. But good morning from California, Dana. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm Dana Perino, and this is America's Newsroom. Yes. Did you even go to sleep last night?
Maybe 2.5 hours.
Okay.
But listen, it's worth it. Dana, I tell you every time, it is the place in America once a year where everyone is happy with a smile on their face as they go into the venue. depending on the outcome, a lot of those moods change, but it's just a great American moment. We're going to show you that coming up momentarily.
It absolutely is. Okay, well, we look forward to all of that. More to come on that, but let's get you to the news. Here is what we know on day 9. Police have not identified a suspect in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. Yesterday, investigators returned to her home where they were seen searching a septic tank and a manhole cover.
Yeah, you wonder what those clues might be. We'll check that out momentarily with our expert. The FBI is saying the second deadline laid out in a purported ransom note is said to be later today, 5 o'clock local time in Arizona. That is 7 o'clock in New York. Now, the Guthries pledged to pay that ransom in a video message to whomever may be holding their mother, Dana.
And Nancy Guthrie and her, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings released that video on Saturday. They addressed their mother's captor directly and pled with them to bring her home.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us and we will pay.
Alicia Cunha outside Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson, Arizona. Where do things stand on this Monday morning?
Good morning, Dana. This was a very busy weekend for investigators in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Let's begin with that septic tank that you mentioned. Sunday, late in the afternoon, a sheriff's deputy and another member of law enforcement went to the back of Nancy's property and they removed what looked like a man cover, and they were focused on that and on this septic tank using a pole to probe this area. They were there for about an hour and then left. On Saturday night, our Fox flight team captured images of investigators searching in the terrain once again in the dark with flashlights. Hours later, investigators show up at Savannah's sister and brother-in-law's house. They spent about 2.5 hours on site. We understand the family was not there, but our Fox Digital team saw agents in there and a lot of what looked like camera flashes going off in the garage and another room. The FBI is also digging into mountains of data from not only Nancy Guthrie's home, but her neighbors. And as it was explained to us, even if a door cam didn't capture an image, the FBI can grab what's known as unseen data. And Dana, what that is that's when you have like door cam apps and they're smart enough to know if a person is there, but it has to constantly be checking to see if that's something what the user wants. So it still captures that data, and the FBI has that, and there is a lot of it, and they're going to be working on that. No news conferences so far scheduled. The Sheriff's Department says that they will have one if there is a major update. Back to you.
Okay, Alicia, thank you so much. Over to you, Bill.
Dana, we're going to bring in James Gagliano, former FBI supervisory agent. James, good to have you back on today. Let me read you what was sent out from the Sheriff's Department on Super Bowl Sunday. They said the following. They say Nancy Guthrie's investigation's ongoing. Said follow-up continues at multiple locations. No suspects, persons of interest, or vehicles have been identified. No scheduled press conferences. If any significant developments occur in the case, a press conference will be called, as Alicia just said there. What do you make of the septic tank, the visit to the Circle K Convenient Mart? What is important for you right now, James, as you go back over the 48 hours this weekend?
Yeah, Bill, I think it's all part and parcel of the conduct of an investigation that has defied gravity for so long. It just doesn't make sense from so many parts of what traditional kidnappings typically entail. Again, going back to the Lindbergh baby kidnapping or Frank Sinatra Jr. or even Patty Hearst. Is this for profit? Is it for revenge? Is there an ideological bent to this? And that has not been stated or released yet. Bill, I think this is just a law enforcement team, the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Office, that is turning over every stone, following exhaustively every lead, literally going down rabbit holes, and sometimes that's what you have to do. I won't criticize them for going back to the house. I criticized them last week for releasing the crime scene so early, but as was pointed out at the top of this hit, you know, there's a lot of work ongoing behind the scenes on digital imagery. That stuff takes time. Was it a proxy server? Was it an IP address that was masked by VPN? Things like that take time to kind of grind through, and Bill, I think that's what they're focused on right now.
Okay, all right, James, we can take that deeper a bit later in our program, but I can tell you what we were all talking about on Saturday out here in California. It was the language of the video message late on Friday night. we will pay, and we want to celebrate her. Can you give us an understanding or an interpretation as to what goes into that?
Sure, if you listen to the 3 messages that have been released by the family, Bill, and they're heart-wrenching. You see a family, at the end of their rope, literally beseeching the captors or the abductors to please release them. Bill, I'm still not certain that these notes, this messaging and communications from these so-called abductors can be authenticated yet. And there's a lot to this at the FBI, the Behavioral Analysis Unit, as well as the Crisis Negotiation Unit, are trying to assist the family with. Remember, we in law enforcement cannot compel a family to act in a certain way or tell them that they have to do this. It's all up to them. And Bill, here's the chilling piece of this. We're hurtling towards a deadline right now, 5 o'clock, right? Which is the second deadline that's been laid out by the supposed kidnappers. I don't even think paying the ransom money would be dispositive in this case. Could these be fraudsters? Could they be opportunists? And I think that's what the family and law enforcement is having to be forced to deal with right now.
All right, 2 quick last questions here. What's more significant, the first deadline or the second? Or do we get a third possible?
They make no sense, and here's why, Bill. Typically in a kidnapping, if it follows typical protocols, there are multiple deadlines set when the kidnapper wants to show how serious they are. If you do not comply with the first deadline, you will receive negative consequences. And those, you can think about all the awful things that could happen. In this instance, where there doesn't appear to be any negative consequences, we're still not 100% certain that Miss Guthrie is alive because there's been no proof of life. And yeah, Bill, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an additional deadline. Somebody's either playing this out because A, they're trying to mask the fact that they do not have her, or they're just trying to lead the family on and try to get any money out of them that they can.
Wow, so cruel. The other point that was brought up is that the first message apparently had a request for Bitcoin, and the second message said a US dollar amount, which has led a lot of people like yourself to think about maybe this coming from outside the country. Right now, we at least do not know that. James, thank you for coming back. We'll talk real soon, all right? We'll give that family hope. Thank you, James. Dana.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.